the unprecedented access behind the scenes, which for a hardcore wrestling fan, it might scare them a little bit, but we have fully pulled the curtain back.
Congratulations on everything from the baby to the new reality show to AEW, everything. Congratulations on this.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much. Thank you.
Talk a little bit about how the show came together. What made you want to put it out there, your home life, for everyone to see, especially with the problems that Brandi was having with the pregnancy and the pain she was in through a lot of that?
Oh man, I feel like you're one man that has paid attention to that. So thank you. No, it just seemed like the perfect time to do this as AEW's growing. You're seeing more and more AEW popping up across Warner Media. Cody had gone on to do the Go Big show on TBS. And so we're kind of increasing our footprint in all areas. And when presented with the idea, it just seemed like the most natural next step, especially for our fan base who's been so great and so hungry for AEW content, to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit in both ways, in the AEW backstage life as well as our personal lives.
Did it seem hard for you to put that out there? Especially, I mean, you seem to be in the first episode miserable a lot of the time when it came to the pregnancy.
How I am. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I will say it definitely runs its course as a 9-month pregnant individual, being interviewed and followed around with cameras. I feel like it's rough regardless of what your lifestyle is to be 9 months pregnant, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you work, whether you're doing a reality television show, or it's going to be rough at that stage, which I think people are pretty honest about. Thankfully, when I was telling a lot of friends, oh, we're going to be filming, they were like, oh, wow, that's going to be tough. And so I knew that going into it. I had fun with it. I definitely gave our showrunner a run for his money every occasion that I could, just because I could. I know that once I don't have the belly, I'm not allowed to act that way. So we'll give him some grace in upcoming seasons.
What makes Rhodes to the Top different from shows like Ms. and Mrs. and Total Divas and the other wrestling reality shows that's been out there?
I'd seen a few episodes of Total Divas when it first hit the scene, and kudos to Total Divas because they ended up expanding the audience more than I think people realized. I don't know if that's a stat that's credited to Total Divas, and it should be. I have never seen Ms. and Mrs., and it's not because we don't love Maurice. It's because Ms.
It's funny. It's funny.
So I think probably the difference, so hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn, is we were producers on this show, and something that was incredibly important to us was that it's not a staged reality show. If it's going to be a reality show, I don't know how many times I told our showrunner, and he obliged, was put a mic on me and turn the camera on. We don't need to have these scenarios. This current lifestyle is wild enough. My wife is pregnant. She's the chief brand officer of a company that is emerging in such a large way. The unprecedented access behind the scenes, which for a hardcore wrestling fan, it might scare them a little bit, but we have fully pulled the curtain back. So for those who stay tuned after Dynamite, you'll definitely learn something. And I think you get to see some of the characters from Dynamite and Rampage and AEW in general in a different light with Rhodes to the Top, myself included. And that's raw, and that it can feel strange when I watch some of what I've seen back, but gosh, it's real. And I'm glad we have this show between us to look at.
Can I just add quickly to that? It is a question that comes up a lot as to, what's the difference between these different shows? I mean, the biggest difference is we've never had key executive members of the team, key decision makers pull the curtain back. You've had talent pull the curtain back, which has been super fun and cool. But this is a big step higher in a industry that's never done this before.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know. Never mind. I was gonna say something mean about Miz, but Miz is a nice guy,
Miz.
right?
How can you?
He's
say
friends with
anything
Matt
mean?
Cardona, so we have that degree of separation. So Miz
He's gonna
is
be doing a
okay.
lot of dancing for the next 2 months too. Apparently,
I heard.
And you know
Yeah.
what? You know what? I'm gonna put my money on Miz on this.
Hard
And
worker.
I have a second runner-up in this. It's between Miz and Cody Rigsby, because Cody Rigsby is my dude on Peloton. Like he keeps my legs burning. So I feel like he's gonna have that strength and endurance too. So I'm gonna say one of those two.
I don't think
We're gonna
Miz,
go really far.
Miz has the legs to dance. That's my concern. He can wrestle, but his legs, there's something off about his legs.
His
I
legs?
don't know.
But I wish
Chris
him
Jericho did it, and you wouldn't see Chris Jericho out there dancing. I don't think.
I feel like I can see Chris Jericho doing anything. He's like a
That's
master.
a good point.
Yeah, he's a real life pirate. He can do anything.
It's a pirate.
Yeah. So
Pirate Chris.
Yep.
Arr.
So the first episode, it bounced pretty evenly between you guys' home life with your families and stuff behind the scenes at Dynamite. Is that how it's going to be for the entire season? Pretty much evenly going back and forth between your home life and the wrestling?
I wish I had seen this
I was
first
going to say
episode.
that's a good question, because it is something that we've talked about a lot, which is how much of each should there be. And I think that's a little bit experimental in this first round here. I also think if we do have a second season, it'll probably skew a little bit more towards us and home life, because in this first season, this is going to be a lot of people's first introduction to AEW and the wrestling world. So once we've kind of established that baseline, I think then we'll see where we go from there. But from what I've seen, it does look like that's pretty accurate. It's a little bit of a half and half balance.
I think that they struck a really good balance. Shed Media and everybody at TNT with home versus our home away from home with AEW, and that's really great to see. It's not lopsided which way.
The first episode, you spotlighted Darby Allin and Ricky Starks behind the scenes. You showed a different side to especially Ricky, who looked very nervous after his broken neck. Are you going to be doing this for more of the younger talent that the mainstream wrestling fans that aren't AEW faithful might not know about?
Well, that's technically my number one job at AEW, and as the executive vice president of talent, that's the most important thing. I already know that Bryan Danielson's famous. I already know that CM Punk is amazing in the ring, that Kenny Omega can have a 5-star match. I know that. It's our job to show you who in 5 years or 3 years at that will be leading the charge. And if you just look at some of the homegrown types with Ricky Starks and MJF and Private Party and Lee John, I mean, I could go on and on and on. It's vastly important. There's this online outlook on me that I all I do is bury talent. Gosh, I feel like I spent 3 years introducing talent, and I wrestled a pay-per-view with an absolute rookie. That's the job, though, and I love that part. Darby is somebody who's just blown everyone away, and I'm glad people get to see that side of Ricky, and I think he will be too, because Ricky presents himself as so confident and suave, but you can't forget that Ricky is new into our industry. He showed up for the TNT Open Challenge. He didn't win the match, but he won himself a job. And now TV wrestling is far different than independent wrestling. Mm-hmm. And seeing Ricky navigate that space and emerge on such a level that he has, I'm very proud of both those guys, Darby and Ricky.
I watched Ricky in NWA, and I'm just really impressed. I was so happy to see him get signed because I saw he had something big, and I wanted him in front of a bigger audience. And I think, especially promo wise, he's really coming to his own. He
when he was standing in the ring for the Open Challenge, so much realness happens on Dynamite that people may not realize, but Arn just whispered in my ear and he said, he looks better than some of our guys. and he wasn't wrong. And then the next day he was one of our guys. Tony always has the foresight to see somebody coming, and Ricky was undeniable.
Brandi, I interviewed you back in 2019 when things were first getting started, and you had said that the women at the time were pretty new to the scene, and your goal was to get in front of the crowd, tell them who they are, and show them what they are about, and start to cultivate the fan base. Since that time, Hills has built a fan community. Britt Baker, I think she's one of the biggest stars in AEW, regardless of gender. Red Velvet and Jade Cargill were in the first episode of Rose to the Top with you talking to them, and Ruby Soho, Thunder Rosa. I mean, you guys are building a big. Talk about how the development of the women's division since we spoke 2 years ago to how it is now.
I think, and I'm glad that you bring up what I said, because I feel like a lot of people forget that I said this in the beginning, that it's going to take time. And I think that people just wanted everything now. When you look at it, the road to get here was a little bit bumpy, but something has to catch. Something has to start working for people in order for people to get on board, because as much as we could do what we want to do all the time, at the end of the day, we want to do what people want to see. So to just throw something at, darts at a board forever is a terrible idea, in my opinion. And hey, it's not, I don't run the company, but I'm glad that Tony didn't do that. I'm glad that he did take his time and wait for stars to start to emerge, and for, wait for the right women. Like you said, Jade Cargill. I mean, the sky is the limit with Jade, but you have to take your time with it. You can't just throw Jade out there for a 30-minute match and see what happens. I can tell you what happens. It ain't good. So we keep building in the direction that we're going now, and I think we continue to cultivate fans. I love that everything is going so well with heels. It had a rocky beginning because people didn't understand it. That's the trend. People jump on things they don't understand, and then when they finally do take a second look and understand it, it goes great. We just had our first in-person meetup with heels. Yeah. It was so successful. It was so successful that Tony Khan held his schedule for 30 minutes so that we could have 30 extra minutes. That's how well things are going in that direction. That's how happy people are. And I'm so happy that it's turned into a community that fans can really thrive in. So many women come up to me at this event and tell me this was their first show that they came to live, and they came because of heels, and they wanted to meet, this woman that they connected with in the community, and they were crying. And, us women, we like to drink and cry at the same time. It was great. But yeah, so, as far as being a female wrestling fan or a female wrestler in AEW, now is a really great time.
I mean, when I first started watching, I wasn't super big on Britt Baker, but she's become incredible. So, I mean, I'm glad you gave him the time. There's been a lot of big signings coming in there, Andrade, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson. How hard is it for you to keep focus on the core younger talents with all the big names coming in too?
I think the best way to approach when you have the big free agents coming in, and something that should have been done elsewhere, and they didn't, and that's their mistake, and hopefully our gain, is if you have a homegrown talent, you pair them up with a name talent. That to me has always been the formula. I don't know why you wouldn't, which we just saw a prime example. Okay, we bring in CM Punk. Does that mean that somebody loses a spot on the card? No. Darby Allin gained a spot on the card in the biggest position he had been in his career. That's how you should do those things. And somebody like Andrade, I feel like we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. We saw a little bit of it if you were one of the hardcore fans who watched the takeovers and were able to see the matches he's able to do. Not everybody saw that. So now with our audience, the whole world can see what he's capable of, and he's capable of quite a bit. So I think it's about balancing your homegrown acts with the big fresh names, but also Tony's approach to booking is a really fresh approach in that not everybody has to be on every show. We absolutely don't want to overexpose everybody. So some people are off 2 to 3 weeks at a time. They drop back in with the same amount of potency and crowd reaction, and it works in total bliss. So everything we're doing right now is the right path and the right formula in terms of involving big, hot, free agent name and someone we're developing and cultivating.
Well, it looks like we're pretty much out of time. So I wanted to thank you guys for taking this time to talk to us. And once again, congratulations. I enjoyed the first episode, and I think my wife and I'll be sitting down to watch the season after this for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Best of luck, and I'll be watching every week.
Thank you, my friend. Till we talk again.
Definitely.